This is the Aflac Insurance Syracuse Legend Show, talking to the biggest names in SU sports history, broadcasting in the ESPN studios and presented by SummitCars.com. Here's your host, Mike Bristol.
All right, here we are on it. And does it get any better when you get John Desko on the show? I don't think it does. Coach, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. We're finishing our second week of practice. We're going to scrimmage, inter-squad scrimmage with officials today at noon, just in 45 minutes. So it's, things are gearing up, and we got Army next week. So looking forward to it.
Has there ever been, I guess, a time in your career as a coach where scrimmage has seemed such a welcome sight?
Probably not. We've started practice probably a couple weeks later than anybody else in the ACC because of our protocols in New York State. So, to go a couple of weeks and have a scrimmage, everybody else has had games. So we're going against Army, who's actually playing Virginia at noon today, one of our ACC opponents. So we got to get on the field. We got to play with some of the new rules. We got to have officials out there because the other schools are going to have a couple game advantage over us.
You think about the new rules. Tell me what was in play, what's new, how you feel about it. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, to be honest with you, that's one of the things we're going to try to figure out today. That's why we're having officials for our game. We want to see how they're going to interpret some of these new rules. The biggest one is probably the face-off, where in the past, the official has gone down with the two face-off guys. He gets their stick set, and then he sets the ball down. Now the new rule is they're going to set the ball down. The face-off guys are going to come up to the ball, get set, and then the official is going to blow the whistle. And the official is supposed to be back, 5, 6, 7 yards, but he can't see what the face-off guys are doing. And I think we're going to see the officials start to cheat up a little closer to their sticks in the ball, because the face-off guys are trying to get any advantage they can. They want to tilt their stick forward so they can get on the ball quicker. Some of them want to get underneath it, and the officials can't see that. So I think you're going to see them creep up, and it can be a lot of learning going on today with a new technique.
All right, when you overall, I guess, start looking at a typical practice session is needed to change, dealing with certain stuff, pandemic situations, all that kind of stuff. Do you feel practices are completely different? Are they relatively similar? Are you comfortable with them? Are you happy with them? I don't know. I mean, how has this all kind of affected you?
Well, it's really different because, a lot of times, especially as the head coach, I want to bring the team in, get close to them, talk to them about, what's going on, whether it be the game of lacrosse or protocols. And now, you've got a mask on, you've got to keep your distance. We send the guys back in pods back to the locker room. So we have 4 groups that go back to the locker room all at, 5 minutes apart. So there's not that camaraderie, if you will, in the locker room when the guys are hanging out. They might get something to eat. They might watch a game or a film in the locker room on the big screen. And for us as coaches, you got a mask on. You got to communicate a little bit differently. So it's different. The practice itself is, as far as the drills we're doing, the same. But, you want to go up and put your arm around somebody or kick them in the pants, and you're not doing that anymore. So it's a little less personal for me.
There's no question about that. And I was just thinking by contrast, you look at how much contact and physical action, is really allowed during practices, or obviously locker room, there's all kinds of stuff that, you're goofing around or having fun, or just the camaraderie or the basic just hyping each other up or whatever it is. But how do you look at, I don't know, there's so much stuff here. The small crowds, there's nothing new there. That's new. There's just all kinds of changes, but at least you're out playing, I guess.
Yeah, I think that, after last year's season and how it ended with the COVID, to get back out there. And then, don't forget the word student athlete. So them as a student, it's different. There's a lot of online learning. There's some in-classroom learning. so for our guys, I think the fact that they can get on a full field, they can change in the locker room. Although how brief it is that they're in there, but to get back out and see the whole team, right? I mean, it was pretty common before where our team would do a lot of functions. We'd go out to dinner. They'd have team gatherings themselves for some binding, and it's just different. So I guess the one thing that's probably the most normal for the guys is practice, and I think that's got to be a release in itself, and for us as coaches, because there quite a while we hadn't been going into the office very little. Everything has been on Zoom. Even our team meetings, our recruiting have been on Zoom. Our recruits haven't been able to, we haven't been able to see them on campus. It's still a dead period for coaches to recruit in. So life is different, as it is for everybody, right? So I hope I'm not complaining here. I'm telling everybody how it is.
Are you surprised that some schools, such as like Yale, still aren't returning to the field in the spring, even as COVID cases decline? I mean, are you, as coaches, I know I'm not going to sit here on air and tell me, hey, Mike, yeah, those guys, that's ridiculous. But as a broadcaster, somebody, you look at a school like that and you see where the numbers are and you see these kids need to compete. And it's great that they're competing. And you're said, well, what are these guys doing? I mean, do you have some frustration there, or do the other coaches talk about schools like that, or do you guys don't care?
No, there's frustration. I mean, you want to, that's been the other trick to our puzzle here is, how do we even put a schedule together? Because we've had Ivies on the schedule, we've had Big Ten on the schedule.
Right.
Big Ten teams are just playing amongst themselves. So we've had to take the Big Ten teams off the schedule this year. So it's been our last game of the year is we're playing Utah, right? And that's a relatively new program, but they're getting better every year. They want to get back out east and play, and it's one school that could have come in that weekend and play us in the Carrier Dome. So it's, and you feel for those other programs. The Ivies in general, it's a pretty big setback for a lot of those teams because not only are they not playing, they have players on their teams that maybe their last go-around or they want to play, and now they have to leave schools. So I think a lot of these Ivies are taking a big hit as far as their rosters go because they've gone in the portal and they're playing, they're going other places to play. They're transferring out. So you got to wonder the long-term effect for those groups because some of their rosters have been almost cut in half. It's incredible.
Well, it's good then. You get some other players transferring into schools like yours, etc. But it just seems to be nonsense at this point that teams like that aren't competing and are acting the way they are. My feelings. You did mention you mentioned obviously Utah. You've got Vermont on the schedule, Stony Brook, etc. So now you're facing some new programs. It's got to be some fun.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. When you have a common opponent every year, you pull out the last 3 years' scouting reports and you see who graduated from those teams, and you have characteristics of returning players. If it's the same coaching staff, they normally don't change too much, as far as their clearing and riding and their offense and their defense. Where now you've got these new programs that are totally new. There are no scouting reports that we've had in the past in our file cabinet. So it's you got to roll up your sleeves and do a little more digging, watch a little more film. That's available, but that's all good. It's all good. Keeps us busy and keeps us on our toes.
Have you spent some time talking to some of the other coaches or trainers or things like that? People that some of the teams that have traveled a bit or have at least done a little bit of that, and have they given you guys some tips or anything that was at least something you could use for this COVID stuff, or no?
A little bit, and we rely on our trainers and Brad Pike and Troy Gurlt, to do some research there, because ultimately it's their call with a lot of this stuff, especially with Brad Pike. And then you've got some conference protocols in place, especially with the testing. which is a good thing. We'll be testing 3 times a week when we start our season. Right now, we're testing twice a week. The good thing is, with a roster of about 60, we haven't had any positives. So that means the guys are trying to do the right thing, which is encouraging. So it's things like eating, right? I mean, a lot of times, we talk about these functions where we have the team to a restaurant or all in one place, in Manley Fieldhouse where our locker rooms are and our meeting rooms are. We're talking about teams when we're on the road. Some of them aren't, they don't eat as a group, or they eat within their pods, and then the next pod comes in and they eat. So it's pretty far out. We're talking about our pregame meal here on campus. Is that going to turn into, a boxed lunch kind of thing? Maybe a pod will show up and they're handed their meal in a container and they got to go back home to eat, So it's pretty far out,
Wow, and I don't think have ever seen anything like this or will ever see anything like this again to this extent while you're coaching here, but it's been different. I always like to point out, having you on, and obviously Coach Boeheim, two of the legendary guys here in Syracuse and guys that have devoted their life to Syracuse, to the sport, and how successful both you are and all the success that you've brought to not only the Syracuse area, but all these players that have gone on to coach or to be, in the business world or whatever it might be. So I always take my hats off to you two for all that you've done for Syracuse, as you are the two legendary guys still here on campus. So I appreciate all you guys have done.
Well, thanks for saying so. And as what you touched on, it's very rewarding, when you see the guys come back or you see their success in their fields, whether it be coaching or business or whatever. And what's kind of nice now is a lot of the guys that I've coached, you see them giving back to the program, too, to show their appreciation for their experiences here at Syracuse University. And that's quite a treat for me, very rewarding.
Really great, John Desko. Thanks, Coach, and have fun at that inter-squad scrimmage. Do your thing, and we're looking forward to seeing a competitive Syracuse lacrosse team as always.
This is the Aflac Insurance Syracuse Legend Show, talking to the biggest names in SU sports history, broadcasting in the ESPN studios, and presented by SummitCars.com. Here's your host, Mike Bristol.
Syracuse legend, the great Adrian Autry. What's up, Adrian?
What's going on, Mike? How we doing today?
Oh, man, I am doing good. How about you?
Good, man. Getting ready to go over to this, get ready for this game, man.
Well, let's not talk about games. Let's talk about you. So,
oh man, that'll be a short segment, man. Ain't too much to talk, man.
It's a good topic. It's a good. You know what I always wonder is, here you are. You have this great career at Syracuse. Well, first of all, a great high school career and everything you do in the city. You come to the Cuse, you do your thing. You have a great career there. Now you come back to Syracuse and you're coaching and you're with Coach Boeheim again and that kind of stuff. How exciting was it when you first got that? Yeah, we want you to be an assistant coach in this program. We want you back here in Syracuse.
Dream come true, Mike. Dream come true. After I finished playing basketball, after I left Syracuse, I played professionally for 11 years.
Right.
In Europe. And, in that transition towards my last 2 years, I figured I knew I wanted to get into coaching. And try to make an impact. That was the biggest thing is, being able to make an impact in young men's lives and impact in that way. And I wanted to get into coaching. I knew I wanted to get into coaching, so I started doing high school. Then I went to AAU. And then I got into the college ranks fairly quickly, but in an operations position and just kind of, waiting my time. And then when I got the call from Coach, it was just like it was just a dream come true to be able to come back and him to ask to bring me back because, my love for Syracuse is infinite. Like you can't even describe it. So it was truly a dream come true.
And you get a great place, and you got the house all set up now. You're looking good, feeling good. And you're a long-time guy. Obviously, everyone has aspirations to become a head coach, have that kind and I don't want to answer the question. Are you more of a head coach / eventually get into the business side of the game or management, like on a pro team, or is it always 100% coaching for you?
Coaching. To be a head coach, I aspire to be a head coach. I don't let anything change that. Whether it's age or whether it's any other distractions. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. That's what I aspire to be every day. The one thing about coaches, he gives us a lot of freedom to have an impact. So, with my group, I treat them as if I was a head coach. My messaging, my preparation, my development, trying to get them to get the message across. Those are the things that, I take seriously, and that's what I want to do.
What motivates you? What on a daily basis motivates you? I love seeing guys that are successful and how they start their day, what they do. You read the different things. How you're very structured. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about your day.
Typically, I get up around 5:15. Get me a pot of coffee. Read the Times. Then I go and get a workout for about 30 minutes. Come back up. I spend some time, whether it's listening to a podcast or doing some reading, spiritually, my faith.
Yep.
And then after that, I sit down before I leave my house, and I map out the people and the things that I want to do, the people that I want to connect with, contact with, and put together a list. Sometimes, most of the time on paper, but a lot of times it may be mentally. Then when I get here, I start, crossing those things off. The biggest thing is I always want to feel like I accomplished something in a day.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, and I want to be able to cross things off my list, and things like that. So, that's kind of how my day goes. I take 30 minutes for faith. I do, obviously reading what's going on in the world,
yep.
And then get my health in. I try to address those three things every day, and then I'm off and running with my checklist of what things I want to get done for the day.
A head coach, a great head coach, really has no flaws, or never, I shouldn't say flaws, weaknesses. You can recruit. The X's and O's. You communicate to your players. You have to relate to the management. It's a whole book of stuff that you have to be. So here you are. You have all those attributes. You're able to do all those kinds of things. What do you enjoy the most? Is it just the coaching part of it? Do you love the recruiting part of it? What do you enjoy most when it comes to being a coach?
I think the obviously getting to know someone, the recruiting part, but also just really being I like to say being in the gym, sweating with them.
Yeah.
Being able to go through the fire to see them, to work with them on a day to day. Just really being in the gym and obviously that gym, the part of it is after working out, the conversations about different things. So just really being with the guys, that day-to-day interaction and contact. I just, to be able to listen to them and try to guide them, obviously basketball, but other things as well.
I don't want to age you here, but I think this is important. It was 30 years ago that you were a freshman at Syracuse. But why were you and a few guys, not a ton of guys, able to excel right away? A time when not all freshmen were necessarily ready, especially then. What made you mentally strong so young?
Well, I like to think my background, coming up with a single parent and not really having a brother, I had to figure things out on my own. And I was, my neighborhood, my environment was not the nicest. So I had to, be alert. I had to be able to be tough. I had to be able to defend myself. I had to be able to not back down. And I had to fight. I literally had to fight. And what I mean by fight, not physically, but you had to, in an athletic way. Right. I had to fight and earn my way onto the basketball court, because I wanted that's what I love. So to be able to play with the older guys and to get on in the center court, we had some side courts and it was that center court. To get onto that center court, that was the goal. That was an accomplishment. And you had to be good, you had to be tough, then you had to be able to get in there and adjust and not mess the game up. and be effective. So I think all those things prepared me for college.
You know, it's interesting to talk like that. So I grew up in a different way, but going to another particular area court where I played, there's 3 courts. You had the 2 side courts, which you kind of talked about for the scrubs, and then you had the middle court, which was the court. And you worked your way in there, but all of a sudden you play, you finally get in there, you prove yourself, and all of a sudden you made it. When did I guess at what age in the city or what time, at what game? Do you remember when you finally were like, they were like, man, this Autry guy can play? I mean, he's
Yeah.
When did you? Yeah.
I was probably turning 14 or 15, and this was a goal. Before then, I wanted to be there early with my basketball so that I could play. So I at least knew I could play the first game or 2 before everybody before it got to prime time. Yep. So my goal, and when I knew that I was getting recognized, is that if the game was at 3:00, I got there at 3:30. Someone was saying, "Are you playing today?" "Oh, I got next. I want you on my team." That's when I knew I made it. I didn't have to be there at 3. I can come there at 3:30.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't have to wait. You didn't have to get the winners. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Someone was doing it for you.
Right.
All right. Ultimately, let's talk about this season here for a second. But ultimately, I guess, is this season as much a test of adversity and patience as anything you've ever faced as a player or coach?
Absolutely. Just because of obviously the pandemic and the uncertainty and day-to-day things can change. So it's really been a test of patience and really outlook, attitude, being thankful for every day that you do get in the gym, being thankful for every game and being excited for every game that you play. And to be honest, you've seen some really good games across the board in college. I mean, I think everyone has that attitude. The attitude of thankfulness and being happy to play.
The time I've spent with Coach, you learn a lot of different stuff. Coach is a guy of great loyalty, strong principle. He's also a guy that cuts to the chase. Like here's how it is, and this is why. And then you realize after the fact, oh wow, that was impressive. So I've always watched Coach, especially in game, the way that he acts and how he, quick timeout and turns things around or whatever he might do. But what are some of the lessons or some of the things, the most impressive things that you've seen Coach do, people don't see, or things that you've learned clearly that you've brought in your coaching and you'll take on as you become a head coach? But what are some of those things that you're just like, wow, that was impressive?
I think what I'm impressed with about, a couple of things. The one thing you hit on the nose is his loyalty, and his loyalty to his players. That's the one thing. And then I think the second thing is really, and when I say second, it's not in second, but a biggest takeaway is his consistency. His consistency to push to always get better. Always pushing to get better. And, to see him do that and the way he does it is just amazing. Day in and day out, the same. And it's always to get better.
I see, obviously, the charitable stuff that we do as partners on the foundation, but then I see his business side. So when we're discussing whatever it was, some sort of business deal or something that we put together, I'm always impressed with his worldly knowledge, as you talking about times, etc. And I'm also impressed with his understanding of relating to people and relating to business situations and understanding the business side too. So, again, a head coach and he's, one of the best. It's you would expect that, but for me, sitting down and seeing it, I've always been impressed with that.
Yes, he's. I mean, I think at the end of the day, obviously, he's been doing this for a long time, and people want to know how is he still being, around and successful and the game is because of those things right there. His worldly knowledge, like you said, he has a great feel for people. He can articulate to people. He knows, he has so much wisdom, and he just knows what the end game is, whatever it may be. What's the end game? He has a very, very good idea of, what people want or what people need, even though sometimes they may not know it.
Right.
What this team needs or what this player needs. So I think he's really great at that.
Yeah, no question. Well, it's obviously a pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad that I like to talk about stuff outside of just the X's and O's and that kind of stuff. So it's always fascinating to get your perspective on certain things. So I appreciate it.
Mike, thanks for having me, man. I always love talking to you, man.
Love it. Great Adrian Autry on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
This is the Aflac Insurance Syracuse Legend Show, talking to the biggest names in SU sports history, broadcasting in the ESPN studios and presented by SummitCars.com. Here's your host, Mike Bristol.
All right, back on it, and the great Alan Griffin. What's up, Al?
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's always good to catch up with you and spend some time. Adrian and I just talked about everything but the team, which I like to do on the Legend Show. I hear enough of you guys, talking about the current team, and you guys probably have enough talking about the current team. So I always like touching on other things and things that are more important. And, I got into kind of coaching here and talking about the coaching side and things like that. So for you, at what point did you know you wanted to be a coach, and did you fall into it, or did you always want to do this?
I think it's one of those things, my time here at Syracuse when I was playing, and, in my most difficult times, and difficult times meaning not playing, that's like the end of the world for any player. Like, you know what I mean? It's your world is done, and, there's no end. But, it was one of those things where Coach Hott would always talk to me about, coaching. He was like, Griff, you'll be a really good coach, but, because of this or because of, my work ethic at that time. And it always stuck with me. And I knew that at the end of the day, I love basketball so much that I wanted to play it or be a part of it forever. And this was the best avenue to go down. And, by my senior year, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Obviously, I wanted to pursue, playing professionally, but, I thought my end game was going to be doing what I do right now because I love it. When I look at your career, and then you look at your coaching, and all you guys have aspirations to be head coaches, or maybe it's something else. Again, I don't want to answer the question. I don't know if for you it's a head coach, but then you also like the business side. I don't know if guys want to get on the pro ranks or you want to stick in the college ranks. But for you, what is the goal? What is when you're there? Yeah, eventually being able to run my own program and see if I could, be successful at it. That's the challenge for me, and I'm always up for a challenge. I love, to be challenged in that aspect. And but yeah, just running my own program. I think that's the end game for me, and seeing if I can do it successfully. Obviously, being around a coach, and there's not too many people. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. There's not too many people that can come close to having the success he's had. But seeing it every day, being around it every day, you kind of get a feel for what you need to do, and I've worked under some really good coaches throughout my years. So, and being a part of coach's staff right now is a blessing for me in my career, but also too, it's I learn something new every day.
I remember when you got here, and I'm guessing when you got that call from Coach, it was unbelievably exciting. But talk about coming back to Syracuse.
It was a dream come true. I always wanted to be a part of a staff with Coach, being the head coach, and it was a dream come true for me. Again, just being in conversations with him, and the wealth of knowledge that he has, and how he breaks games down, and the crazy thing is
when you talk to coach about the game, it's very simple to him, and to other people, the game doesn't come as simple.
Right.
So, and just to see it and hear about the game, and just to be in film sessions with them and sit down and talk about individual players, and it's just one of those things where I'm really blessed. Being able to have that at my disposal or be a part of that every day.
I have spent obviously a significant amount of time and learned so many different things, and I kind of got into a little bit more with Adrian, but I want to get into it with you. When you look at coach, what are some of those intangibles or those things that you have learned? I mean, I want real examples of, an in-game situation, or even him pulling you aside and saying, "Hey, Alan, this, and this," like stuff that people haven't heard.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, I hit on it just a few minutes ago in terms of how he sees it, like how simple the game is to him. And you know what? You can sit there and say, he has some great players over the years, but you know what? You have to put great players in a position to be successful, and that's one of his big qualities that I can. It's like, all right, we're gonna set a cross screen for Melo here. Get Melo, you get the ball here, you score. Like that's just who he is. That's it ain't. We're not gonna set a down screen. We're gonna pin you in here, and you're gonna bring you off this screen. No, we're going to set this screen. You're going to come off here. You're going to get the ball here. You're going to score. You're going to do what you do. It's that simple, with coach, that was one example. We all come up with crazy ideas, us as a staff, and, we bring ideas to him daily. And what a coach's thing is, since I've been back and I've been really paying attention to it, is just like, we've been running pretty much the same system for over the years, and so we come up with an idea that we see another team doing to getting, players opportunities and freeing up shooters and stuff. We'll say, hey, coach, this is what, we see us doing. We can do this for Joe, or Buddy. And coach would be like, you know what? We do that. This is what we do in our 54 series. That's what we do. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, and then, him saying it that way means that he's listening, and you know what? He'll be right. He'll be jotting some stuff down. And you know what? When we start to go over, our 5-on-0 and our offense, he'll implement certain things, or he'll make our guys see where those opportunities are, and that's where you kind of say, you're helping the program as much as you can.
The thing that there's so many things that I've been impressed with Syracuse basketball and overall all of you guys coming together. But I think the most impressive part is you have yourself and Jerry. You don't have guys from different backgrounds or guys from different, and I don't mean different, I mean like that played for Syracuse. You have this alma mater, this loyalty, this legendary group that comes together along with coach. What an impressive coaching staff. Like overall, the years, the experience, what you guys bring to the table, your recruiting, all that kind of stuff. But what an exciting coaching staff they have back here. One of the best that we've ever had.
Yeah, it's crazy too, Mike. Like, when I was at Dayton for the 6 years, I would talk to Adrian. Adrian is probably one of my best friends in the, period, not just in the business. And then Jerry, when Jerry, I was here when Jerry came on his official visit. I was here playing pickup with Jerry the summer that before he got to school. So we have all of us have relationships outside of coaching. And it was, and now just being able to come into the office and be able to talk to those guys every day is like, I'm really blessed. The good thing too is that we speak the same language, so to speak, and that's where when we have to make hard decisions and tough decisions on recruiting and or whatever, it's not as hard if it was somebody different because, at the end of the day, we know it's all coming from the same place, and that makes my job a lot easier. I think, I can't speak for those guys, but I think it makes those guys' jobs easy, that much easier as well.
It's hard to imagine Syracuse basketball without a guy like Jim Boeheim, okay? And hopefully plenty more years Coach stays around. But the legendary focus of it, or the aura around Syracuse basketball, there's nothing else really like it. And it is the pro team here in this market. And frankly, New York City, they're liking Syracuse basketball. And you see fans all over the world. You go to a Florida game. Remember, we were playing Miami, and there's more Syracuse fans than there is Miami fans or Florida State or whatever. Can you elaborate a little bit on that Syracuse orange aura?
Oh, yeah, I do. It was funny. It's like I graduated and I was playing overseas I was playing in Slovenia, and we had a game. I think we traveled to Bosnia, and my first time in Bosnia, which was an eye-opening experience. And I'm in the hotel, and I'm leaving. I'm coming over to the game, and next I get to the game, and it's a section full, like 10 people, with just straight orange. Now, my team that I was playing for, we were green and white. The team that we had was black and red, And I was like, black and red. I forgot what, exactly what colors, but it wasn't orange. And I get in, and it was like 10 to 12 people there that went to Syracuse, that was from Bosnia. Like they were sitting there, and they heard that I was on this team and coming in there, and they were there. So I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
Like, this is why, that was, and we always did a great job of traveling. Syracuse fans are passionate. And the one thing I'm going to go on a rant here because, this has been on my chest for a long time, and I want to kind of get it off my chest is that, just recently, the media has been a little bit tough on Coach in terms of, rotations and this and that and this and that. And you know what, and part of the deal is with the media is like we all have a responsibility. And, and at the end of the day, we're still talking about kids, and if you have something personal with Coach, you can take that up with Coach, but don't use the kids to get back at Coach. Like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, I just feel that when Coach is done coaching, we are going to miss Coach more and more each day as that day, because he's been such a big part of Syracuse, what the community is, what Syracuse, New York is like. And, for people to, start to take shots at him now is just one of those things where it's frustrating because, again, like, let's not get it twisted. I love Syracuse. I love Syracuse to death. Like, and it's a great place to live. It's a great place to be. And see, everything about Syracuse to me is unbelievable. But you can probably go to Texas or whatever, and somebody say Syracuse, New York, they were like, man, it's too cold up there. We ain't going up there. They get too much snow. And Coach, throughout the years, made it a destination point for a lot of people, not just basketball players, but students to come in and want to be a part of Syracuse University because of, the brand that he, was building and built. And I just feel like, we owe him more. We owe him more, and we need to understand and take care of guys like him and help and build, and continue to build the brand that he spent so many years building and love so much. So I had to get it off my chest, my guy, and it just was one of those things that kind of it is dear to me because Coach has been a big part of my life, and it was times where I was mad at Coach, but when you look at it big picture wise, it helped me become the person I am and helped me become the coach that I am and helped me become the man that I am, with him being a part of my life. And I appreciate everything. So, at the end of the day, he's not perfect. Will's not perfect. And I just feel like people need to just kind of take a step back and appreciate, what he's done and who he is more so than take shots at him and use kids to take shots at him.
No question about it. And I think it's great that you point that out. And that you point out that these are kids, and these are kids that just graduated high school that are now playing, in college. They're not a bunch of pro athletes. They're not getting paid yet and all that kind of stuff. And frankly, you are absolutely correct when it comes to all the years of service. So I talked to John Desko a few minutes ago, right before Adrian, and I always thank John, as I do Coach, for the loyalty and the number of years and what they've done with their respected sports. Coach Desko played basketball here. Jim Boeheim played basketball here. They grew up here. They put all their sweat in here. They recruited here. They were assistant coaches here. They were head coaches here. They're legendary coaches. There's no one like Coach Boeheim. There's nobody that really. And again, we can go off and just like you were kind of doing. But the bottom line is what you just said. He created something here that no one else did and could. And just like I said, if he ever leaves, it's so different. A guy like that who has done and been so successful and has helped so many kids. See, this is the thing that people don't know either. If you don't spend time with him or you're around him a little bit, and I elaborated this with Adrian, but like even just seeing him with athletes that come back, guys that come back and thank him, guys that give him a call and need some help and he's helping them, guys that he's loaning money to that people will never know about. I'm talking about legends, former guys that played and all that kind of stuff that need some help or something. Coach is helping them out, or hey, let me help you. Let me help you with a job, or let me help you with. People have no idea all the stuff he does for guys that wind up coming back here after they've played or they haven't played or whatever that need to get picked up a little bit or need some help, and Coach is there. Or there for a phone call anytime, or to connect with a guy, and people don't see that kind of stuff, and all the stuff that we've done with the charity, with the foundation. I mean, he's given away millions of dollars in this market. So, and the media, frankly, and I don't care because I've never considered myself a media person, but you got a bunch of jackasses that have never played a sport that like to critique whatever they can critique, or because a coach was short with them one time, so now they're mad at him. I mean, it's a joke. You know what I mean? It's a joke.
Yeah, Mike, and you hit it on the head. Like at the end of the day, like I said, like we're not perfect, and nor so coach is not perfect. But like at the end of the day, when you read between the lines and you peel back the layers, you got a person that truly cares about, the kids and the community and Syracuse, New York, the town and everything. So, like, that's why, I kind of get frustrated. And let's not get it twisted. Like this is big time basketball, and you know what? Some critique, you're gonna get critique. Like, it's just one of those things. You play bad, you get, it happens. But like, I just feel like just the last couple of weeks, just with a lot of the stuff, especially coming out in the media and stuff like that, a lot of it has been, I think, more personal. Yeah. Than anything, and I just feel like, again, if it's personal, and you have a personal problem with somebody, you can get in contact with Jim and you have that conversation. Don't be, if you can hide behind a computer or a typewriter or whatever it is, you should be man enough to do that. You should be man enough to have that, talk with coach and kind of air it out. So, but the problem to me is that being a dad. Is when you use the kids, regardless if it's his kid, Joe, Kadari, Frank, whoever on our team, they're kids, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. First and foremost, and you don't use kids and put kids in the middle and stuff, because these are the same kids that got to go back to their dorms and look each other in the face. These are the same kids that have to go in the locker room and look at each other and get prepared to play in the game for one another. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, it's just one of those things where, again, for me, it's been, I'm taking it hard because, again, like I'm a dad, and my first. Yeah. My first instinct is to be a protector, and that's how I look at our guys. Like, I'm not their dad. I don't try to be their dads, but I'm here with them every day, so I'm going to try to protect them as much as I can. And I feel like I just hope that, people will back off and just, and try to help these kids and try to be positive. Be positive. They want to see some stuff, regardless of what positive written about them, in the next coming of weeks, so that they can, put their best foot forward. Like, why is the town that they love and they chose to come here and play for and play in, turning their backs on them or saying negative things every other day about them in the paper? Like, that's just not fair to nobody, let alone, these are kids, So,
completely agree.
I don't know.
No, I completely agree. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I'm glad that you took the time to point that out. And I'm glad that you said what you said, because you're absolutely right.
So,
Well, the great Al. All right, we'll kick some butt today. Let's make things happen, baby.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Big Al. Thanks, bud.
All right, bye.
Alan Griffin doing a great job on the program. We'll be back. ESPN Radio 97.7, 100.1.